What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Wednesday night live stream real estate recap where we talk about everything to do with the housing market and some other stuff. If you guys follow me and my channel, you know that I'm located in Washington, D.C. and Maryland and Virginia. Been born in D.C. Right now I live in Montgomery County, Maryland, licensed in all three, and we have a lot going on here, as you can imagine. So we're going to get into it all. But before I do, I want to bring on my guest. He has been here before. He's coming to us all the way from California. A lot going on there as well. He's also been a real estate agent for a long time. I've been a real estate agent for 22 years, and Joe's been one for at least a decade. He's a lot younger than I am. So I'm going to bring him on. Joe Pareca, let's bring him on. Why, hello there, young man.
Hi. Hello. How you doing?
I am doing okay. It is kind of crazy over here in DC.
Yeah, I know. I was on that crazy train well, I'm still on it, right? Boy, the start of this year has certainly been an interesting one to say the least. And I feel like LA was like the January and now DC is like the February.
Yeah, well, it kind of started here in the fall leading up to the election, but we're used to that. I mean, I was born here. I grew up here. I've been a real estate agent for a million years, been through a lot of elections. So we were kind of used to that. But then like recently in the last month, I mean, and especially in the last week, things have just gotten insane because there's a lot of, I'm just going to call it what it is, a lot of fake news out there, and we're going to debunk it all.
Yeah.
And I know you got a lot going on in California. I know you guys are still recovering, from the fires, and you have a lot of issues, I'm sure, I can imagine, with home insurance and displacement. And we're gonna talk about everything. So if you are watching this live, I see some of you've already joined us. Please chime in, engage with us in the chat. And if you're watching this on the replay and you have any questions for myself or for Joe, just put them in the comments and we will definitely get back to you. I want to start off by showing you a couple headlines, so you can see what I've been dealing with. Okay. So let me just bring up, I was telling you some of these headlines, these articles, they have all this moving stuff on them and it makes me insane.
I know, I can't stand that. You try to share the article and there's a banner at the top, there's a banner at the side, there's something
all
at the
moving
bottom.
ads. For someone with ADD, it really is distracting. But so I'm not going to keep it up for long. So you can see this is the Daily Mail. So across the pond, Washington, D.C. housing market plummets as DOGE lays off thousands of federal workers. Okay. I'm not even going to go into the article because it's all a bunch of something I don't know if I can say on here. Let me just show you one more. I know I'm a little sassy tonight, people, so you have to bear with me because I just been dealing with this all week. DC house prices slashed as DOGE targets federal workers. Once again, fake news, people, but we're going to get to all that. So I just wanted to show you a couple of those. And I'm going to bring up one more thing I want to show you, because not only have all the headlines been saying this, but then we deal in the world of social media.
Yes.
Yep. So this is a TikTok by WFF News. I want to definitely credit her. She is showing the map that I'm sure you've seen circulate all around social media. Apparently, this is Arlington, Virginia, right outside of DC. And these are all the price points of all the millions of people that are selling their homes immediately today. By the way, if these are all federal workers, they make a lot of money because there's some 2.4 million, 2.7, 3 points. I mean, it's just crazy. Let me just play for you just the beginning.
This is wild. The real estate market in Washington, D.C. and neighboring areas is exploding with new listings, meaning everybody is putting their house up for sale.
Everybody.
And you might wonder, why is that? Well, people believe it's because 75,000 federal workers.
Okay, I'm going to skip this because it's she goes through the headlines. And let's go straight to this part.
Metro DC area, there are 5,581 homes for sale, and 2,183 of those were listed in the last month.
Not true.
This is the neighboring town of Arlington, Virginia. In the past 48 hours, look at all of the new listings. You can see them because they're tagged with that green coming soon sign. It's looking like like
Oh,
a
that's good.
mass exodus
Mass
from
exodus.
Washington, D.C. and the neighboring areas. And some might say this is what draining the swamp looks like.
Okay, Missy, Miss WFF News. I've just had just about enough of you, so I'm getting you off. So this is what's been circling all around social media. She is one of many TikTokers that, I still can see her. I got to get her off of me. No offense, but it's fake news. And if you're going to put something on your social media, or you're going to write an article, or you're going to put it out there, at least be accurate. Do your research, look at the data, maybe call somebody who lives here and works in it and ask them to send you a screenshot, because it looks nothing like that. And we are going to get into it all. Let's see, Bob Dobbs. I can't see without my glasses. I guess a lot of families will wait till the end of the school year if they want to make a move because of the federal workers, what we're talking about, or just in general? Because I can comment on that depending on what you're asking. And slipping into this is such BS. And then Bob says, yes, she's annoying. It's not just her, to be honest. It's everywhere. Have you seen it, Joe? Have you seen it out? I mean, it's hard not to.
Oh yeah. I mean, obviously we've gotten a taste of it. I've seen some of that stuff myself. And I mean, just kind of, I'm a real estate professional and I have been for over a decade, but I've never been to Washington, D.C. and I've certainly never worked that area. But when I saw the map that's been circulating, the graphic that's been circulating around, I thought to myself, this doesn't seem plausible. This doesn't seem like it could be a thing. And quite honestly, I mean, 5,000 new listings since November and 2,000 since the last 3 weeks. I mean, 2,000 new listings in a few weeks is, I know there's a lot of houses there. I know it's densely populated, but to me, that seems almost on the verge of impossibility.
It is impossible.
Yeah,
it is impossible.
That's what I thought. As a layman across, on the other end of the continent, to me, it seems crazy. And this is one of the reasons that I was glad to be on the stream today, is because I would actually like to get information from you, a professional that actually is in the trenches and knows what's going on, and is not just someone on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, X, whatever it is, that's just pontificating about something else they've seen. So, of course, stuff like this, you got to go to a local, reliable source. You just got to stay off social media for important news, please.
Let me see if I can. So because I've been getting a lot of questions, and from my clients or from people.
Oh, for sure.
I did a lot of research, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can bring this up. I don't know if I can bring up a screenshot. Let me see if I can. I don't know if this works. No, I don't know if I can bring up a screenshot. Darn. I think it's just only websites.
If you share your screen.
Yeah, I'm trying, but it's only bringing up. It's not bringing up the actual screenshot. All right, I cancel it. Well, here's the good news. I'm doing a video on it's coming out Friday, and I'm going to share all these screenshots and of what Arlington really looks like. I just went on our MLS, took a screenshot. Active coming soon listings. Doesn't look anything like
No, I'm on Zillow right now in another tab, and I'm looking at the Arlington area right now in front of me. It looks nothing like the screenshot that young lady.
And even Zillow isn't always accurate, as you know. They tend to lag in their data, in my experience. But it's so, in my opinion, it's so careless.
Yeah, it is.
Because you know what it did? It created panic. Not for those of us who work in the industry, because we know better and we know, but for people that don't, they see this screenshot of all these houses. If they look closely, like I know some of you did, Dara says, she obviously doesn't know federal workers make much less in the private sector. Clearly, if you look at those price points, I mean, it doesn't take a genius to figure out it's fake news. But that being said, I don't want to insult anyone that believed it, because we do tend to believe what is shown to us, and if it's shown to us enough, and you look at enough websites and enough social media, you assume it's true. And guess what, people? It is not true. And I have a lot of data to debunk all of this. And I will get into as much data as you're willing to take, because I had to do it, to really tell people what was really going on. And I like to go with the real source. I went straight to our MLS and straight to, the real stuff. And it's not even close.
Yeah. And it's funny. I'm glad that you brought that up. Like, the people that do believe some of these, fake news headlines are overly, I don't even want to say exaggerated, because it's almost not even an exaggeration, because an exaggeration would imply that there's some shred of truth. But I'm glad that you brought that up, because, so often now, people see stuff and it looks official, it looks real. And then when you tell them, oh, they're laying off a bunch of people in the government, and then, all these people are selling their homes because their jobs are getting laid off, and then you manufacture a graphic like that. The whole story has been told. It's all been weaved together. And of course, people are going to believe it because the story sounds good. It sounds legitimate. It sounds real. But at the end of the day, it's not even these news outlets. It's these independent content creators, these social media influencers that are just looking for the clicks, the the views. That is totally it. They have no interest
100%.
in actually helping deliver information or data to people. No interest in that.
It's so annoying for us that actually work and live here.
Yeah.
Let's just talk about federal employees just for a second. Because by the way, they don't all live here. Out of the 2 million federal employees, the DC area, Washington, DC, and I'm reading this because this is all the research, Maryland, Virginia, is home to 19.8% of federal employees. So that's less than 20%, less than 1/5.
Yeah, great point.
80.2% of federal employees work outside the DC area. Washington, DC alone is home to 7.1% of the workforce, with 147,590 employees. And this is being generous. If you look at the Washington Post, they came out with their own data. They say only 15% of the 2.19 million civilian full-time federal employees in the United States work in the Washington metro area, which includes Northern Virginia, suburban Maryland, even a touch of West Virginia. Yeah, we'll let them in. So let's just say it's between 15 and 19.8% of the federal workers that live here in the area, which is less than 1/5. And I think the only reason there is a discrepancy because it depends on how they're doing their border,
Yeah, right.
Out of those people, what is that percentage in relation to the entire workforce of the DC metro, right? Because that's what we're talking about. How many people are going to put their houses in the market?
Yep.
So let me tell you, we have to do a little more math.
This is good. I like this. See, this is the type of stuff. Numbers don't lie. Numbers don't lie.
Okay. So, and this is all I can cite all my, sorry, I have a cold because I've been traveling, so I apologize. Okay. According to the recent data from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, the total non-farm employment for the Washington, Arlington, Alexandria, DC, VA, MD, West Virginia metropolitan area considered the DMV is around 3,361,300 workers. Okay. So we'll take the 450,000 divided by 3,361,300. I already did the math for you, which equals 13.3% of the area workforce is federal employees, not including active military or farm workers. Now, wait, we're not done. Now we're going to look at the percentage of recently fired provisional federal employees. That's what they're talking about, right?
Yep.
While there is no official figure available, because I've looked, of the total firings or layoffs, routers say there are approximately 280,000 provisional employees, okay? Assuming all of them are fired. That's 9.3% of all federal employees nationwide, nationwide, okay? 9.3%, because that's a percentage. So if we take that same percentage of the 13%, remember 13%, is 1.2%.
Yes.
So that's 1.2% of the local workforce was fired. And this is if everything, you got to come along this journey with me. But let's go a little deeper. Sorry, I know I'm a little animated because I'm so annoyed.
No, this is good. This is great. I mean, this is the type of data people need to see. They need to see the number breakdown. They need to understand what's actually going on. And that was my first thought is, wait a minute. So everybody in the DMV metro area is all of a sudden federally employed and they all got fired and now they're all selling. It didn't make sense. Doesn't add up. And now we're seeing exactly how it doesn't add up.
like I said, I'm going to put this video, like a short video. It's going to be very short on Friday. That will have all the screenshots and the links and everything, so people can see where I'm getting all this data from. So let's just assume that half of them are homeowners. And that's just an assumption. It could be more, it could be less. I don't have data on that. I'm just like, let's just assume half of them. And all of them decide to sell their homes. Okay. That means that about 0.6 of 1% are going to list their homes. So I ask you, does this sound like a housing market crash? Is this the mass exodus that TikToker said is happening? Because in my opinion, it's not. And I have so much more data back this up. We get into this later. I can show you exactly what's happening here in DC and Montgomery County and Fairfax and Arlington. I have it all here because that's all I've been doing all day, because I really think the only way to combat fake news is with real news, and real news that's sourced and data verified. And I just saw that one of our viewers brought this up, and I couldn't agree with you more. Nikki says, even with layoffs, it would take the average homeowner months to figure out if and when they want to sell their home.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
You got to figure out, where are you going to go? What, are you going to put your house on the market and be out on the streets? I certainly hope not. What if you have kids? You got to find them schools. You got to find a place to live. Yep. You got to pay for moving. You got to get a budget together. You don't just put a sign in the yard, sell your home and go nowhere. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And also too, who's to say that, okay, so people, are federal employees, they live and work in the DMV area. Some of them have been established. Like you said, they've got schools, they've got families, they've got kids who are in school, all these things. Wouldn't it make a little bit more sense if maybe those people tried to find a new job before they just sold their house? And, wouldn't you think that you would at least give an effort to be like, okay, well, maybe my government job, not so much anymore, but I'll go to the private sector. How many times have we seen government employees go to the private sector? I mean, that's commonplace. It's common. It's not rare at all. So this idea of, Trump is, draining the swamp and firing everyone and all of this stuff, and that's why everybody's just going to put their house up for sale. It's really at the surface level, you go, okay, I could see that. And then once you start to just critically think for a moment, you go, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. And it's like you said, once you just stop for a minute, forget about that screenshot that's been going around. I'm sure you guys have seen it. I can bring it up again if you want me to. Let me know. That just looks crazy. If you just take a breath and think, how is that possible? Like, why in the world would people that have a salary, even if they're laid off, they're still getting paid for a while, even if this all comes to fruition, put their house on the market in the middle of the school year, like Bob was talking about, because he said federal workers, in the middle of the school year, take their kids out of school, put their house on the market when they probably have a great interest rate because they probably refinance, to then go move where, to get a job where, when they're already here, they may have two incomes. It makes no sense.
Yeah. That's a really good point that you bring up about having the low rate, because you have to remember, if these people own those houses prior to 2022 or so, well, their payment is probably extremely affordable in comparison to either renting locally or selling and buying another home. And that's the type of stuff that sometimes people don't consider. People think as soon as someone hits a little bit of a bump, ooh, the job is not as good, or ooh, there's a little bit of a financial problem, first thing, sell the house. No. The last thing people do is sell the house. That's the very last. They'll sell the RV, they'll sell the vacation home, they'll sell the brand new BMW. What they won't sell is their roof that keeps their family safe. So this idea of, just because this might be happening, everybody's running to do it. And furthermore, in that screenshot, all of those properties were listed as coming soon. They all had the coming soon ban.
Right.
How could all of these properties, it's like they all got together and said, okay, everybody, list your home, but only do it as a coming soon right now. Everybody go. And it's like, it doesn't even make sense.
It doesn't even make sense. And by the way, the homes in Arlington, because like I said, I was doing all this research. In Arlington, I think there are 47 coming soons. And those are houses that real estate agents like you and I have been prepping for a couple months. We're getting ready to put them on the market, probably signed the listing agreement last year, way before all this shenanigans started happening. It doesn't work. You don't just, like I said, it's just not that fast to call up your local real estate agent and say, please put a sign in my yard is coming soon. So then it's going to go on the market and I can go nowhere.
Right.
That's so annoying, but
It is.
It has an impact.
Yeah, definitely.
And the impact is real.
Yeah.
And the impact is very disruptive. And when people start to feel scared and uncertain, no matter if they know it's fake news or not, they figure where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yep.
And like I said, I'm happy to share a lot of data with you guys if you're into it. If you really want to go down that nerdy hole with me, I've got it all here for you, and I'm happy to do it to show you the real data. Because I got to tell you, bottom line is we are still lacking in inventory. It is a seller's market in Montgomery County, Maryland, in Washington, D.C., in Northern Virginia. There is one part, it's not all butterflies and rainbows. The condo market in DC is pretty soft, and that has been soft, I think, since the pandemic. I don't think they ever quite recovered, to be honest. So that is true. It's not all like whatever, and not every house is selling in multiple offers, in a week, way over asking.
Sure.
But if they're priced right and they show well, they are. I had clients last week, 3 offers, escalated above asking. My clients won it. They bought it. I guess they won the multiple offer thing, but it's funny when you say you won a house, but you still have to pay $1 million.
Right.
And that was just last week. So it's definitely happening if a house is priced right and shows well, but there are other homes that, sellers are being greedy and they're overpricing them because they're still thinking about, 2021 or the beginning of 2022. Or they're just like, I don't want to spend money hiring a real estate agent. Here, I'm going to take a picture. I don't care if my kid's stuff's all over the floor and doesn't show well. And those houses are sitting.
Yep.
And those houses are getting price reductions.
You're right.
The data is all of these houses together, right?
Yep.
So you got the ones that are sitting with the price reductions because they're greedy sellers and not showing well. And you have the ones that are selling really fast, and they're all together to make the data. So it's not even as clear unless you really know what to look for, and you really know what to look for your particular house.
You're exactly right. And we're seeing the similar thing out here in Los Angeles. It's a very similar market where it's this, if you have a good house, if it's priced right, if it's presented well, you're not going to have any issues. It's so funny because I just did a CMA for a client. It's technical jargon, the comparative market analysis. I went to someone's house and gave them an evaluation about what their home could be worth. And on my CMAs, what I'm seeing now are 2 flavors of homes. Homes that sell in less than 15 days and homes that sell in 50 or more days. And there's only 2 flavors. And you can tell the ones that sold in, 15 days or less, 20 days or less, priced right, staged, cleaned up, good photos, open houses, done the right way. And the ones that are sitting for, 50, 55, 60 plus days, overpriced, terrible photos, not presented well, condition issues for the price, way overpriced. It just seems to be that there's only, some sellers, like you said, are stuck back in 2021 where you could just do anything, ask whatever you want and sell your house. And it's just not that way anymore.
No, money's a lot more expensive.
Yep.
Buyers are fed up. They're a lot more savvy. Yeah. And they want to see the real value. And if you're not willing to put it out there and show them the real value of how the house is priced and how it should look and the conditions should be in, they're not going to buy it.
Nope.
Bottom line.
Yep.
Bob says, what happens to federal contractors? Do they lose work? Do they gain work filling the roles of federal employees? I don't really understand the question. What happens to them? Go ahead.
I do know that some of the layoffs have affected some federal contractors. So for example, I was on a different stream yesterday with an agent up in Washington, and they have a lot of obviously firefighting resources up in Washington. And she was telling me that the firefighters there are not federal employees, but they're contracted by the federal government to help fight fires when there are fires. And she was saying that those contractors were cut, obviously to save money. And people in her area of Central Washington were very upset because their risk of fire has kind of increased a little bit. And now they feel like, we don't have the protection. So I do know that it's hitting some of the federal contractors the same as it's hitting employees. I think it's one of those things where will the contractors fill in for the roles of the employees? Maybe in some situations, but I think it's probably hard to know for certain. But it certainly is affecting both employees of the government and also contractors of the government.
Yeah. And I got to tell you, hang on a second. Slipping you not sure how many probationary employees are buying a home, they are renting.
Good point.
Yeah, I mean that I don't have the data on that. And by the way, the rental market in Fairfax County Virginia is very strong. I don't work in rentals, so thank you for telling us that. Do you work in rentals, Joe?
Every once in a while, yeah. If I got a good client that is like referred and they're like, I need something, I'll help them out.
Yeah, I don't. So I just don't like the type of things I don't know about. And Henrik says the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. That's a good one.
It is. It is.
And Dara says, plus there are the class action lawsuits. People wait until their date in court before even thinking of moving.
That's good. Another good point. Another good point. Why would you rush the process if something could change, right? And to go back to Henrik, the quote about fear. We've seen this talked about. Remember when we started talking about a recession and inflation, and it was in the news constantly: recession, inflation. And as we talked about it more, inflation went up more, and the fears of recession went up more. And it almost is like we talked ourselves into it.
Right.
Now, luckily, we didn't really fall into a recession, and it kind of went away before that happened. But it is strange how when we talk about major financial things in the United States, major issues in the United States, it almost seems like talking makes it happen, right? So like when people talk about, oh, DC's been flooded with listings and there's going to be a crash, it's almost like people will it into existence, if you will. And that kind of goes along with, you have nothing to fear but fear itself. It's like, the thought of the recession, the crash, whatever it is almost worse than it actually happening. And that's what manifests the fear and the danger.
Well, don't you remember back during the pandemic, there were so many like real estate agents on YouTube that were like, the housing market's crashing, it's crashing. And
Yep.
I think for a moment we were like, maybe, we didn't
Yes.
know. I hadn't been through a pandemic before.
Yeah, right.
Very, very quickly, it was pretty obvious it wasn't crashing. The government stepped in, gave everyone a lot of money, made money really cheap. So everyone got really excited. And all of a sudden it started, we'd call it the pandemic boom, the housing market started booming.
Yeah.
Even throughout that, there were still those clickbaiters, whatever you want to call them, because actually you and I spoke about this in your own before. There were some channels, or somebody one of our viewers told us about certain channels that I never heard of them.
Oh yes, the shadow inventory. I remember.
Right. Full disclosure, I don't really watch a lot of YouTube. I'm a little busy. I'm working. But all that they were still going on about the housing market crashing for months and years and years. And it's like, when are you going to stop? I mean, eventually maybe, but I don't think so. Not like 2008.
Right. Yeah. And it's funny because now a lot of those crash bros are starting to go to a thing where they're going, oh, well, now Florida's going to crash and Texas is going to crash. And we'd be like, okay, so we're still talking about crashes. At least you have gotten localized. At least you're giving your opinion on one area. And it's not just like everything everywhere is going to crash, because for 2 years, that's what we heard. Everything everywhere crashed, screwed, which is it's ridiculous, but it got the clicks, it got the views.
So tell me what's happening in California, because you're there and you're in Los Angeles, right? Or you're close by.
I am. Yep. So just to give everybody some context of where I am and who I service and what I service, I am in a town called Claremont, California, which is about, I'd say, 35 miles east of downtown Los Angeles. And so if you're in a car, that's about an hour and 20 minutes because of LA traffic. But I'm still in LA County, and obviously I'm very in tune with what's going on in the greater Los Angeles area. I'm about 20 miles, about 15 to 20 miles east of Altadena. So obviously in the news, Altadena has been plastered all over the place, and it's been, unfortunately, the victim of insane devastation. In fact, my wife works in Altadena, and she just sent me some clips of her going through the neighborhood on Monday. And she made a remark that really stuck to me. And she said, it would almost be better if a bomb went off, because then just everything would be destroyed.
Oh.
What she saw was driving through. It's like she sees burned bikes in driveways. Like she's seeing like toys, some burned, some not burned, just out in the front yard. Like literal, like just a snapshot of these people's lives that were one way, and then a firestorm came through, and now it's completely different. I mean, it's really quite dramatic still. So we're still facing a lot of issues, obviously, with that. I think another thing that people are not realizing is, you look on the news and you go, oh, not every home burned in Altadena, which is true. It's very random. You'll have 5 houses that burn and then 1 home that is standing next to 4 more houses that burn. But what people don't realize is for all of those houses that didn't burn down, they're still completely uninhabitable. There's no utilities.
Right.
There's no electricity. There's no natural gas. There's no clean water. So you can't even live in them. So even if your house didn't burn down,
Right. I didn't think about that.
Completely affected in almost the same way. My aunt, her home did not burn down, thankfully. She lost all the homes across the street from her and all the homes north of her on the street.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And she is still in an Airbnb about 15 miles away from her house because she can't live there. So the effect is still very real. And now to tie it back into what we're talking about, real estate, the effect the fires had on real estate's very real. So I'm about 15, 20 miles east of where these fires hit. And already in the last month since the fires were kind of put out, extinguished, and the recovery process officially started, I've seen probably at least 8 to 10 buyers just on transactions that either I've listed, I've had offers in on, or my brokerage has listed, where there's buyers from the fire hit area.
Oh.
So we're definitely seeing an influx of people coming that way, which is for my market, is keeping it very active. So we are seeing a little bit more activity than we normally would this time of year.
Interesting.
People are starting to say, you know what? I know I'm not going to rebuild. I don't want to rebuild there. My community is gone. School is gone. My church is gone. My grocery store is gone. I'm not going back. So I need to set roots down somewhere else. And we happen to be a really, really good option for people in that community. So in my local area, it's staying active. In the LA area as a whole, we're in a similar market that you're in. Good house, priced well, it will sell. If it's overpriced, if it's got condition issues, if it's got location issues, then it's going to take a little bit longer unless it's priced accordingly. We're still seeing, for the most part, between 2 and 5 offers on most good homes that are priced well. And we still have an inventory issue. Yeah, I think right now,
so do we.
Right
Believe
now,
it or not, so do we.
Yeah, it's still a thing. And that's why, these people are talking about, prices have to come down. They don't. They don't have to do anything. Prices of real estate don't have to do anything. And inventory and demand are going to be your biggest driver, supply and demand. So
let me ask you something. I have 2 questions for you. And I don't know if you know the answers to these or not, but where did all the people go that are displaced? Like, where are they? Like, I feel bad. Like, and how, because you're right. Even if somebody wants to rebuild, I imagine insurance companies are going insane. If they have to get paid out, they have to rebuild. I mean, it takes time. All this stuff takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
So where is everybody? Like, where are they?
One of the things that takes the most time is just cleaning up. It's one thing when you have one house that burns down and you go, okay, there's a little asbestos in there. There's a little bit of lead, not enough to make an impact. But when you lose 7,000 structures that all have potentially harmful chemicals, we can't even begin to start the rebuild process until all that's even cleaned up. So with that being said, all of the people that were in the Altadena area basically just kind of filtered out within the greater Los Angeles area. We saw them go to South Pasadena, Monrovia, Duarte. Basically, these are all just surrounding cities within a radius of probably about 10 to 15 miles. So they all just kind of filtered into different rentals, lots of Airbnbs. I know a lot of Airbnbs were used by people that lost their homes. But they've just had to trickle and go where they can.
I mean, it's so sad, and what I've heard, and that's why I want to ask you these questions, so you're there, is I've heard that like the rental prices are going through the roof there, and like people can't afford it, and like insurance costs are like crazy now, and that's causing, another type of affordability issue. I mean, is it all, I assume this is all true.
You're not wrong. No, for the most part, all of that is dead on. Insurance is a problem. In fact, I just sold a very generic patio home, a 3-bed, 2-bath, 700 square foot patio home. Here in the city, not in the hillside, not close to the mountains, $9,000 a year for insurance.
Wow.
$9,000 a year for insurance, which is grotesque.
Would it have been that way last year?
Probably
like, is this
not.
a direct impact from the fires, do you think?
I think so, because what's happening is the reason that insurance policy is so high is because right now, all your major insurance companies, you know, and everybody knows this, a lot of insurance companies have been pulling out of California. It's not quite as bad as people make it sound. Like, people make it seem like you can't get insurance at all. No, you can. You're just going to pay for it.
Yeah.
And part of the reason that the insurance on this particular unit was so expensive is because the roof on the unit showed signs of age, and insurance companies don't like that. If you've got a roof that's old, it's got moss on it, it's got any type of missing tiles, they hate it. And so they said, all the insurance companies said, we're not insuring that unit because the roof is in a condition that's substandard. The roof was not in great condition, but it didn't leak. There was no leaks, and we just got a ton of rain.
Otherwise, they would have replaced it, you know?
Yeah. And so it was one of those things where that client had to get what we call the California Fair Plan, which the Fair Plan is a state insurance fund that is basically your last resort for insurance. If you can't get private insurance, then you have to get what's called the Fair Plan insurance. And that's really only for like fire insurance. It's very expensive. And then you still have to get supplemental coverage for, you know, if someone falls on your property or whatever. And that's part of the reason it's gotten so expensive. So insurance is definitely one of those things right now where even if you have a very normal house that you're buying or selling, you have to start working on insurance like as soon as you make the offer to make sure that not only you can get it, but also
you can afford it.
You can afford it. Exactly.
Right. Hoy, I don't know if I'm saying your name right. I'm sorry if I'm not. The rental market is crazy there. It sounds like it. And Slipping Jimmy says, state insurance, the last resort, and it's broke.
Yep, it is. Slipping Jimmy is exactly correct. It only covers up to $3 million. And for people, believe it or not, Caryn, $3 million in LA, it goes fast. It goes really, when you're talking about houses. So that fund is heavily burdened at the moment. And probably what's going to happen is there's going to be an assessment for California homeowners. There's going to be everybody's got to make a one-time payment because we're running out. Now, the good news about that is I've already seen that floated. It would probably be in the amount of about 500 million. The good news is that when you take 500 million and you divide it up against all the households in California, it's about $65 a household. So you know,
so it
it's
sounds
not
palatable, you know, when you
exactly
as opposed to the big number. So I'm going to get back to what we're talking about inventory, because as we know, home prices are based on supply and demand.
Correct.
Right.
100%.
You got a lot of supply like we did back in 2008 through 12, you know, prices went down. You don't, there's a lot of demand, prices go up. It's just a matter of supply and demand.
Very simple.
And because of all the clickbait that I've been having to deal with regarding DC, I started going into a little bit of research on inventory, not only here, but other places. So I'm going to share this with you. This is from one of my favorite data collectors, Lance Lambert. I don't know if you know who he is. He used to write for Fortune. Now he has his own company called Resi Club, and he
Resi Club's great.
Yeah, so Lance is a great data collector. He's very much into data, and this is compared to it's housing inventory for sale from January 2025 and going all the way back to 2018 to pre-pandemic.
This is a great graphic.
Yeah, January, and I don't know if you can see it. Can you see it well enough?
If you can enlarge a little bit,
how do I do that?
Hold Control and then scroll your mouse in, and it should make it a little bit bigger. Hold Control on your keyboard and then scroll with your mouse. I think it will.
No,
maybe not. Oh, okay.
All right, I'll just have to read it. So this is January in this last column, January 2025 compared to pre-pandemic January 2019. Okay, so the top is District of Columbia. They're saying that from 2019 to 2025, that inventory has gone up 67%.
Wow.
And just from 2024 to 2025, it's gone up. I'm not that great at math. It looks like about 34% if you look at these numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, this is for the entire city, including condos. I don't think this is wrong. I really don't. I think that DC really suffered during the pandemic, and it's never really recovered. And if you take it, if I looked at just single family homes, it's a very different number. But if you take in the whole city and all the condos involved, this is the number that's happening. But once we get past that kind of, one that's really crazy, it gets very, very different. So if I go down to where I am in Maryland, way down here, the difference between 2019, so pre-pandemic now, is negative 51%. California is here, negative 31%. This is the inventory, people. This is not home price, it's inventory. So this is just, do I have a link to this? I do have a link to it. Can I put it in the chat?
Yeah, you should be able to post it in the chat.
All right. Let me try. Sorry. This is when my ADD kind of, I don't know if it's good or bad. That should have worked.
Yep.
Okay. And there's other stuff. So this is every state. So if you go back 1 year, did it work? Or you can go back to pre-pandemic. I think it's interesting to go back to pre-pandemic because we know what's happened since then.
Yep.
And it just shows you how little inventory we have. Now we talk about the states that seem to have really taken off during the pandemic and now have calmed down a bit, like Texas and Florida.
Yep.
Their inventory compared to pre-pandemic seems to be up 13% Texas, 5% Florida. Remember, these are the whole state of Texas, the whole state of Florida, Colorado up. After that, it's all negative.
Yep.
Oh, good. It worked. Thank you for telling me that. Let's see
I feel like this one graphic right here is the antidote to the crash brothers. Like, to all the crash people, they're like, oh God, crash, crash, crash. I mean, if you just look, starting at about the third or fourth region down, it's all negative inventory compared to where we were 5-6 years ago.
And really negative. So here where I am in Maryland, Virginia. Maryland is negative 51, Virginia negative 52%.
How do you have a crash when you have 52% less inventory?
Right. And then if you guys want to look at that link, I put it in the chat because you can then click on these and it becomes interactive. It's kind of cool. So you can just see the map here where this is the same thing I just showed you in the columns, but this is just showing you just on the maps. There's Texas and Florida, the orange green. And as it gets darker and darker, it gets less and less. In December 2024, 9 states were back to above pre-pandemic inventory levels: Arizona, Colorado, Florida, Idaho, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, and Washington. But even them, it's 2%, 4%, 5%, 3%. But the reason the figure shrank isn't that inventory growth after accounting for seasonality has stalled. Instead, it's due to denominator effect since inventory was shrinking in 2019. January 2019 had a higher comparable denominator, while December 2019 had a lower one. It's really interesting.
Yeah, it is. It
This
is.
is the 1 year shift in housing inventory.
And you know what's funny, Caryn, to think about is if you look at that 1 year shift and you think, oh my God, we've had tons. Look at all the increase in inventory. Look at all the dark green. There's no brown, right? And people go, see, housing crash, it's coming. Look at all the inventory piling up. But then when you look at the overall, it's much different. You know what's funny? I find the funniest thing is that everybody complains and goes, we need more inventory. We need more inventory because we need to get pricing down and affordability up. And if we have more inventory, then we'll have more supply, and then we should have better pricing and better affordability. And then the moment that we start to get a shred of more inventory, everybody goes, oh my God, it's a crash.
Right.
It's like, which way would you like it? Which way would you like to have it? Like,
yeah.
there's no middle ground.
And the nice thing about this chart, if you guys want to click that link, so in case, because I know this is really small, is that you can see every year. So you can see like from, I'm going to take DC out. Well, even looking at DC, if you look at 2023 to 2024, 1547 to 1586, like the same. It's very low until you get to this year. And like I said, I think that has a lot to do with the condo market. But if I go back down to Maryland, I mean, it went from 18,479 right, in 2019 to, let's just say 15,000 in 2020 to then 7,000, 5,800, 7,500, 7,100. I mean, it's still so low compared to pre-pandemic, you know? And so you're right. It goes up a little bit.
Right.
And people are going crazy, but look at what we were used to.
Right.
And it wasn't just 2018, 2019. This was like the way it was.
Right.
You
right.
know?
Imagine we have what? 25% of the inventory that we did, even if our inventory doubled overnight, even if your Maryland inventory doubled overnight, it would still be half of what it was before the pandemic.
This is another good one too. This is according to realtor.com, but Lance put this on here. So you can kind of see the years. Here's 2021, 2022, 2020, 18, 17, 19 are way up here. 2024 is here, and we're there are little dots. We just started. Poor little 2025. Little arrow. It's so cute. It's just so that's his Lance Lambert. We actually were emailing yesterday because I wanted to make sure, I wanted to ask him, I'm waiting for him to get back to me, if he was including condos in this metric for DC. So I did my own research and the number was exactly that. So I know he is. So it's just something to look at, to really, and he talks about the lock-in effect, that it could be easing up. I think that that's true.
I think it is too.
I think that there's what I'm calling, and I've made this up, I don't think this is actually a real term, but I call it interest rate fatigue. Just like people are kind of sick of it. Like I've waited for a year and nothing's happening. It doesn't seem like it's changing anytime soon. So I wanted to downsize or wanted to move to another state or want to get a bigger house or whatever I wanted to do. I'm just going to do it. I know for myself, we just decided to buy another house. Yeah, it's kind of still hasn't sunk in. We closed March 3rd, and interest. I know it's in Delaware. It's on the beach, and I don't know why I share this stuff, but anyway, it's because it's true. But I'm sharing it because the interest rate, you know, I have a 2.685 for my home here in Montgomery County, and the interest rate there that we got, it was like 6.8. I'm like, at first you look at that and you're like, oh my God. But then what I realize is what a lot of people can do if they're choosing to sell their home and buy another one is put a lot down, which is what we're doing.
Bingo.
Even though that interest rate's high, it's all about, let me just get rid of this for a second.
That's a great point.
It's all about the monthly number. Right?
That's all people care about. It's all.
So if we had to pay that 6.8% on, you know, 80% of the price of the home, which I'm not going to reveal that, I share too much. We couldn't afford it. I'm going to be honest. Right. But because we're putting so much down, because we're taking equity out of our home to put it down there, so we're paying 6.8% on half of the purchase price, and that's what the monthly number is. We can afford it.
Yeah, very smart.
And I think that's what's going to happen with the lock-in effect, is that people are going to realize, hey, wait a second, I have a lot of equity in my house.
100%.
If I sell it, I can use it to go buy something, bring the loan amount down. So even though the interest rate's higher, the monthly number is palatable. Or I can just take equity out of my house if I want to keep it and use it in an investment property, or this is what we're going to do, you know, and use that to bring the loan amount down for my next home. It's all about the monthly number.
Yep. No, you're exactly right. And you hit the nail on the head in multiple ways. I completely agree with your assessment of interest rate fatigue. I think people can only sit around and wait for so long. And think about this, Caryn. In 2022, interest rates start to shoot up, and maybe people go, ooh, no, you know what? I'm going to wait. Which now we know, hindsight being, interest rates have not come down and prices have only gone up. But let's put that aside for a second. Let's say it's August of 2022. Let's go back in time. And that same buyer just had a baby, and they go, you know what? We'll stick it out in the apartment or in the condo for a little while longer. And now they haven't moved, and it is now February of 2025, and their newborn is now 3 years old. And maybe they're pregnant again. Now there is no waiting. There is no, you know what? Let's see what happens. It's, we need to sell this house now, and we need to buy another house, because otherwise something bad is going to happen, because we got four human beings in a townhome, right? So I think a lot of people are starting to make that realization that, number one, can't wait forever, and life continues. So your death, your divorce, your pregnancy, families getting bigger, getting smaller will always happen. And I think what you're starting to see is people make the same realization that you made. And that is, whoa, actually, I can sell my house and I can just like make $400,000, $500,000, $600,000. And then I can turn around and I can put like 40% down.
Right. So it's all relative. I mean, we're talking big numbers here. I know not everyone out there is like, well, I'm not going to make $400,000. And it's all relative to how much equity you are going to get out of your house when you sell it, and how much of that you could put down to the new house, what that costs. It's all relative. What I'm saying, though, is that I think that we're agreeing that there's going to be interest rate fatigue, and therefore there's going to be more inventory.
Yes.
And what I implore for you guys, if you're watching this on the replay and you're like, what is she talking about? Interest rates are too high. Do the math. Talk to a lender if you really did want to sell, but you're not doing it only because of interest rates. Do what I did. Talk to a lender. Ask about the monthly number. What is my monthly number if I put this down? If I put this down, ask your local real estate expert, how much will my house sell for? And then do the math to the net. And then how much equity you're going to have in your house and what you're going to profit from. And if you take that and you put it into the new house, what is your monthly number? You may be surprised that you can afford something that you didn't think you could. I know that we were, because I was like, there's no way. And then once we did the numbers and put X amount down to make the loan amount less, it was totally doable.
Yeah.
And I think the more people start to look at it that way, as a much like profit from home values going up, take advantage. This is if you wanted to make the move, obviously. Take advantage of that. Take that money and then go to something else if you want to, and use it to bring your payments down.
Yep. And that's how I went from my first starter home to now the home that I'm going to be in forever, probably. And that was during 2022 when interest rates went up. I left an interest rate of 2.8% to take a 5.4% rate. So I doubled my rate basically. And most people were going, all my friends were like, dude, you're crazy. Like, why would you give up? Right now, your mortgage is pennies. You're paying penny. You're paying half as much as my rent for your mortgage. And I said, yeah, I get that. But I have so much equity in this house that when I go to buy the new house, I'm going to pay more per month, but this house is going to make much more money than this little house could make. I've maxed this little house out. So you also have to think about it from that avenue as well. Like if you're in a house that has gone as far as it can go, a 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,200 square foot home is only going to be worth so much in your city. And if you can upgrade to a 4-bed, 3-bath home that's 2,400 square feet, well, you're going to be able to level up that investment, and it's going to continue to grow much better than that little tiny house would. So you also have to keep your future gains in mind as well. Right.
But, and just because I'm going through this right now, it has to be comfortable.
Yeah,
because with what's going on right now with our country, back to what we started with, yes, a lot of the clickbait is out there and a lot of it's fake news, but it does cause some paralysis. And when people get scared or they're uncertain, they do nothing. They don't move. Nope. They don't make big decisions. They don't do any of that. They do nothing.
Yep.
And that does cause a lot of disruption. What I'm seeing more than the layoffs that we're hearing about is in my market, in the DC market, in the DC suburbs, is the back to the office policy has impacted a lot of us in the industry, because personally, I had clients that were ready to sell their house and take their family and move to Nevada because it's just a better quality of life for them and cost of living for them. And he was working remotely. Well, he can't work remotely anymore, so they can't move anymore. So that's, and I have another client that she worked from home and, now she has to find childcare because she can't anymore. And so that's impacting their finances, and it's just, so I've just empirically have seen more of a disruption with that immediate action, because that was immediate. People had to get back into the office, than the layoffs, which, like one of our viewers said, there are lawsuits and they're not done. And, it could be there's just a lot going on. I know a lot has happened, and I'm not trying to minimize anyone's situation. If you've been laid off, if you're a federal worker, I am certainly not trying to minimize that. I'm just talking about the clickbait out there in regards to the housing market.
Yeah.
It's not true.
100%.
I do want to bring up one more thing, if you will indulge me. And this is about the market here. Which one is it? That one? Yeah. Okay. So this is taken directly from our MLS. And this is what the clickbaiters were talking about. They're talking about Arlington, where I am here in Montgomery County, Maryland, and you got Washington, D.C. These are all the Washington, D.C. metro markets. So if we just look, this is comparing just year to year, January to January. If you look at, this is for median sales price, Montgomery County, Maryland, where I am, it's gone up 14.3%.
Wow.
Arlington County, it says it's gone down 5.9%. Alexandria up 18.1%. Fairfax County, Virginia, which is right outside of DC, up 41.6%.
Wow.
This is in a year. This is kind of all over the place. And then you have Washington, D.C. It says down 8.3%. Once again, this does include condos. I have to look into the into Arlington County because that number seems really, that's the only negative except for D.C. And then if we go down to new listings and active listings is the next one, which is our inventory. If you look at the whole metro, its area, it says 2025 to 2024. So 1 year, it's down 4.1%. So this is where the exodus is not happening. So inventory is down overall 4.1%. Where I am in Montgomery County, Maryland, it says it's up 11.8%, right? This is in 1 year. But hold on to that because I'm going to get to something. And Fairfax County, it says it's down 7.2%. Arlington County down 3.9%. I'm going to show you what this means in Montgomery County, where I am, and DC down 9.6%. If you look at the active listings, these are all going to be up year over year. So this is all the inventory that's on the market, right, in 1 year. Mm-hmm. Because first of all, this is the time of year we put inventory on because we're entering our spring markets. Some of it is seasonal, but it's going January to January. So it's fine. It's apples to apples. But inventory is up because, like I said, a lot of these sellers are still overpricing their homes. And so they're sitting there. But here's what you need to look at, people. This is what you need to look at. This is the real metric, month of supply. Okay. This may say Montgomery County, it's up 11.8%. This says the active inventory is up 33%. Here's the month of supply. 1 month. 1.05 months.
That's not a lot.
0.23 months. Okay. Fairfax County, 1 month, 1.13 months. Arlington, 1 month. This is even DC, which is soft. Like I said at the beginning, I don't think it ever recovered from the pandemic. 3.9 months. Which is, look at all of the suburbs, 0.93 months, 0.82 months. This is Fairfax County, 0.97 months. Alexandria County. This is Virginia, right? This is all right outside of DC. 1 month. A balanced market is 4 to 6 months. A buyer's market is 6 months or more. 1 month is a seller's market.
Big time seller's market. Big time.
So how do you make sense of it? Inventory is up 11%. And, because first of all, they sell fast if they are good houses and they're priced right. So they come on and they go. And second of all, the houses that are overpriced are sitting. And this is taking everything into account. But This is the real number you should be looking at to decide whether you are in a buyer's market or in a seller's market and what's really happening where you are. What is the months of supply? Because that will tell you, it's all these numbers put together, what kind of market you're in. And this is coming straight from our Bright MLS.
Yeah, that month's supply is really like you said, that's the metric you want to pay attention to if you're trying to figure out, am I going to face competition? Am I going to have to do multiple bids? Am I going to have to overbid the price? And if you're in an area that's got less than 2 months of inventory, then chances are yes to all of those questions. And another thing to consider is you think, okay, well, if we've had these increase in inventory, but month supply is still so low, that's the proof in the pudding that it's being absorbed. The absorption is high, which means absorption equals demand. So if properties are being absorbed, that means there is demand, which means as soon as the properties come up, people are buying them. Nothing, it's not sitting around accumulating days on market.
And I'll stop my data. There's so much data, it's crazy. But this is once again, this is the DC metro. So this is all those areas combined. This is January to January. Median sold price is up 5%. Okay. Median days on market down 1 day. New listings are down almost 5% and active listings are up 10%. So that means that new listings are down, active listings are up. So like you said, and once again, month of supply, 1 month.
Yep.
Sorry, that's 2024. 1 month, still 1 month, 1.0, 1.14. It's 1 month of supply. Yep. So they're coming on, and the good homes, like the ones that my clients, I'm so happy for them, got last week, they're coming and they're going. And this data is taken on any given day. Now this, if you guys want to link to this too, I can give it to you, because then it goes into townhomes, it goes into condos. Here's the townhomes report, goes into condos report. I'm not going to go into all that. I do go into it though on my video that's coming out on Friday, if I can get it.
That'll be a great video. And that's a great, that right there, Caryn, is a great summation of why, if you're someone who's interested in learning about actual real estate information and data, why you should go to a professional just like yourself. Because all that data that you just showed is so much more in-depth, detailed, and the craziest part is accuracy in comparison to what people are seeing on TikTok or YouTube or whatever, influencer they're getting their information from. So that's just a really good picture of the true real data and the analysis that needs to go into actually giving clients a good picture and representation of what the current market is doing, wherever that may be.
And I've been saying, and it sounds like the same thing where you're in California, I've been saying this for a while, we're in a mixed market. Yes. It's not 100% a seller's market. It is a mixed market.
Yes, absolutely. For the last 5 years, we've been operating in a national real estate news cycle where, when it was the pandemic time, it was like, everything's on fire, everything's going up, there's no houses anywhere. And now we're starting to get back to that point where we're starting to see true individual markets, where, hey, this little area here, maybe there's more inventory. And this little area over here, actually, it's still a hot seller's market, which is how it's always been. It's always been that way. It's always been, this little area over here, maybe is different from this area, that's different from this area, that's different from over here. And we've just been sidetracked by the last couple years where everything everywhere was doing the same thing. And that's very rare.
I'm going to get a little more granular than that. Where I am, at least, it could be within the same neighborhood.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally, one house can sell multiple offers and go way over asking, and a house in the same neighborhood because it's overpriced or it doesn't show as well, and the buyers aren't seeing the value, and it will sit and will get a price reduction. And it could be in the exact same neighborhood. And it's truly a mixed market. Slipping Jimmy says you need a pro to help sell a house. Yep. I agree. Vonda says, great information, Caryn. Thank you. Yes, we need to stay with the professionals. And Toby, oh, sorry, I tried. I could see 2 out of 3. Tabby, sorry. With all these homes for sale, where are the people going? Are they relocating? I think maybe you missed the beginning of the live stream. There are not all these homes for sale.
Yeah, go back and watch the stream from the beginning when it's recorded, and make sure you watch Caryn's video that drops on Friday, because it's going to explain all that.
Yeah, if you're talking about the clickbait that's been out there where they're saying there's a gazillion homes in the DC area and everyone's an exodus, it's fake news. It's not happening, and we went through a lot of that data. So yeah, it's not happening. And Dara, Yoga Cat, I love that, Yoga Cat. I agree. You've been learning. Oh, thank you. You've been learning so much. Caryn, been in the same home for 36 years. Good for you. Sorry, I'm just doing it. No problem. Yeah, go back and watch the replay. And as Joe said, I do a video, hopefully if I can get edited in time, coming out on Friday that I go through all the data, but it's fake news. Don't believe it. It's just not true. It's very, very irresponsible for them to be putting it out there. Alex says, thoughts on Frederick, Maryland. Are these houses flooding the market? Are hilarious. It would be hilarious, except for it's not, because people are believing it and it's really disruptive. It's scaring people, and it's just not true. Now, I have started to see articles coming out. Washington Post came out with one. I know NBC Channel 4 came out with one saying the real estate post stokes fear from federal cuts impact on the DC housing market is fake. They're finally all coming out and saying that it was fake news and not true. But there's not going to get it. They don't get as many clicks as and
once the genie's out of the bottle, it's hard to stuff it back in, right? We already made all the waves with, oh my God, it's crazy, and all these houses are flooding. And then whenever you go back and say, oh, actually, by the way, that story wasn't correct. Like it never gets the same traction as the original clickbaity story. It just doesn't work that way.
And as far as Frederick, Maryland, just to give you some data, Frederick has a big whopping 1.16 months of supply. So it's still a seller's market for the most, I can't even speak, for the most part up there. I love Frederick. Frederick tends to be more affordable because it's a little farther out from the city. Just so you know, it's super cute, but it's a little farther out than where I am in Montgomery County. So it can be more affordable, and it's got a lot of good houses out there. But they still are, going crazy out there too. If it's a good house and it's priced right, it's going to sell fast in Frederick. If you want to talk more about specific areas where I am, please just email me and we can set up a Zoom or a call, and I'm happy to go over that with you. Bad news sells, sure does.
Sure does.
All right, Joe. Thank you for indulging in my data nerd rabbit hole today.
Oh, no problem. It was super interesting, and it was great to hear from someone like yourself who's an actual pro in that area that can shed some accurate light on what is actually going on. So it was
just frustrating because the past couple of days between my brokerage, at Compass, and my clients and my friends and people are just like, oh my God, what is going on? What's happening? And I'm just like, all right, I just know myself. I need to find out the truth. I am a truth teller. I'm very direct, if you hadn't noticed. So I just went into the rabbit hole, and I'm like, my friend Lynn and I, she's another real estate agent at my office in Compass. She's also kind of a data nerd. And we've been on the phone like at 6 a.m. every morning. Like, okay, I found this. Let's do the numbers, do the math, and and we came out with some real numbers and real sources, and it just debunks everything that you've been hearing out there about this fake news of this exodus of Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
Now, you want to leave Washington, D.C. for other reasons because there's a lot going on here. I understand.
Yeah.
It's not because of what's happening.
And I dealt with the same thing in California. How many times do we hear, oh, the exodus in California? Everyone's fleeing. That was my favorite. They're fleeing California. like they're refugees.
Oh, that's right. You sent me an article. Oh, we didn't even get to that. You sent me an article about the fake news. California homeowners lose $650,000 as housing price drops.
Yes,
I can
sum that up in like 1 minute. If you can flash that one up on the screen, it was just funny to me. And this is just a great representation of news outlets doing what they do. And that is getting clicks, sensationalizing, making hyperboles. California homeowners lose $650,000 as housing price drops. You think, oh my God, these people in California, housing prices are dropping. No. This is a story about two sellers, a husband and wife, that sold a condo and they paid too much for it 2 years ago, turned around, tried to sell it, and they took a $650,000 loss. So two homeowners in California lost $650,000 on the price of their home. But again, this just goes to show you where
California homeowners. It doesn't say two, and you just think it's all of them.
You think it's all of them, and you think we all just lost $650K in value or price, which is absolutely erroneous. And what they don't, what they don't tell you in the headline is this was like a luxury $3 million condo in Beverly Hills. This is not your generic average Californian home. This is in a very sliver percentage of luxury high-end condos. And it's ridiculous.
It's just more. I had to get rid of it because of the moving things.
No, it's good. It's good.
I don't know how to get rid of those moving ads, and they drive me insane. But it's just more clickbait. So what's the moral of the story? I know there's a lot more comments, and I told Joe I don't like keep him hostage for an hour, so we kind of got to go. If you want to know about anything where I am, just send me an email. My email's on the bottom of every video. It's my name, Caryn, Caryn 01 at Gmail. I'm happy to talk to you guys about anything you want. We're just kind of out of time. So Joe, I really want to thank you for coming on and indulging me. More of the story I was going to say is don't believe what you see. If you see something and you think it relates to real estate and it's in your market, call a real estate professional.
Yes.
Somebody who's in the market 24/7. Ask them. They will be happy to share with you the real data. It's very accessible.
Yeah. And most agents, if you just call them up and say, hey, I'm not looking to buy or sell, I just have a question about some things, most agents will be happy to speak with you and give you some information. So Caryn, you make a great point. If you see something, it's okay to look at it and wonder about it, but then, you need to verify it yourself and make sure that what you're doing or what you're reading is actually, accurate and real.
Tell people where they can find you if they want to see you on YouTube. What's your channel?
Absolutely. So my handle is in my little caption there, @JoeRealtor. So you can put @JoeRealtor into the Google search or into the YouTube search bar. I'll come right up, or you can just put my first and last name. Also, I will be doing my live stream this evening at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time, so 9:30 for everybody back on the East Coast. But if anybody in chat wants another hour and 20 minutes of Joe, tonight at 6:30 p.m. on my channel, you can see my live, and we're going to be talking about actually some of the stuff we covered today, but a little bit different topic. So I'll be live tonight at 6:30 Pacific time on my channel.
I wish I could stay up that late. I'm such a loser. I do wake up at 3 in the morning, but 9:30, I'm so sorry. I'm out. All right. Thank you so much, y'all. Thank you for tuning in. If you're watching this on the replay, consider joining us live, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Every Wednesday night, I'm back. I know I took a couple weeks off, had some personal stuff, but it's, we're back and we're ready to go. So yeah, consider joining us live. Thank you guys who did join us live. I love getting you involved in the chat. It just makes it more engaging and it makes it more fun. All right.
That's all we got. So much better when the chat is here.
Okay.